Mr. Speaker, I want to follow up tonight on my previous question to the government about the skyrocketing use of food banks in this country. It is going in the wrong direction. We've seen the national statistics, but tonight I want to provide an opportunity to provide an update on the local scene, which isn't much better. Let's remember what Food Banks Canada said in their recent report. 2 million Canadians are using a food bank per month. In their estimations looking ahead, that was last year, looking ahead to the year 2024, they are expecting 1 million more visits to food banks in 2024. There are numerous food banks in every part of this country that are not only sharing heartbreaking stories of Canadians, many for the first time coming to a food bank looking for help, but they're also talking about the increased pressure and demand on their staff, on their volunteers, on their suppliers to provide such a basic necessity to Canadians in their time of need. We know that this year alone, with inflation that continues to be a problem, numbers building on even worse numbers from previous years, that the average Canadian family will be paying $700 more on their grocery bill just this year alone. I'm grateful every single day for the not-for-profits that are working in our community of Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry, the City of Cornwall, and in Akwesasne, helping those that need some support. There was a group locally that supplemented many of these national reports that come out that paint the picture of how food insecurity is not just an issue in big cities, it is hurting our part of Eastern Ontario. The Voices United 2 report was by Food Banks United, and the report was using data created from the Agape Centre in Cornwall, from Community Food Share in Winchester, Morrisburg, and Finch, the House of Lazarus in Mountain and Ingleside, and the St. Vincent de Paul Society in Alexandria. Mr. Speaker, here are the stats from that report. 40% of survey respondents are personally hungry and do not have enough food in our community. 38% are missing meals to pay their hydro, heat, or rent instead. 33% of food bank clients in our area are going whole days every month without eating. And 34% of food bank clients in Eastern Ontario are children. And the scary part is the growing number of people who are employed, working hard to make a living and make ends meet. There's a 37% increase over just the last year in the number of people who are employed and still can't make ends meet. Their rent or their mortgage, their food bills, whatever it may be, is becoming too much to bear. We are seeing a correlation. It is revolving the carbon tax. The more that this government increases the carbon tax, the further it is putting people behind and more people that are using the food bank. You can't go, and according to the Parliamentary Budget Officer, on C-234, if passed, our common sense Conservative bill, that would save Canadian farmers $1 billion in carbon taxes in the coming years. Zero rebates. Mr. Speaker, no one believes the Liberal and NDP math to say you could put $1 billion on the agricultural industry and not have that passed along to consumers. Put more carbon tax on truckers, on grocery stores, on small businesses with no rebate and not have that drive up the cost. When will this government get with the program, understand that carbon tax is hurting families, it's driving them to the food bank, axe the tax, provide some relief, and finally bring down food bank use and food prices in this country?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thanks to the Honourable Member for the question and his advocacy for families and children. It's good to see. I spent my whole career working with nonprofits and charities and specifically worked on food insecurity and ending food insecurity. But it's good to hear the Conservatives are finally noticing that food insecurity is a problem in this country. It's too bad that they vote against a national school food program that would literally take 400,000 kids out of food bank lines. I don't know how they can maintain a position where they seem to be empathetic for individuals standing in food bank lines but won't feed the children of those families. Supporting families, improving their quality of life is one thing that our government has set as a priority from day one. We've taken steps to make life more affordable because we believe every Canadian deserves a real and fair chance to succeed. Let's take one example, the Canada Child Benefit, which helps low and middle income families with the cost of raising their children. This benefit, which is indexed to inflation, supports over 3.5 million families and over 6 million children. That's thousands of families in my riding of Whitby who receive upwards of $91 million a year across my riding to support their families, which far outweighs the costs that the member opposite had mentioned in terms of what families are bearing today on their bottom line. That's close to $25 billion tax-free in the hands of families each year from the Canada Child Benefit. In 2021, the Government of Canada made a transformative investment to create a Canada-wide early learning and childcare system, which we knew would give children a strong start in life. Tens of thousands of families and children are already benefiting from reduced childcare fees, and it's enabling mothers to rejoin the workforce, which builds family incomes. Since 2022 and until June 30th, 2024, families with children under 12 have benefited from the Canada Dental Benefit. With the new Canadian Dental Care Plan, the Government of Canada will continue to help families access the dental care that they and their children need and, I would say, deserve. Mr. Speaker, there is no question food insecurity affects many Canadians. No child should go to school on an empty stomach. But the rising price of groceries makes it difficult for many families to afford nutritious food. That's why our government put in Budget 2024 a $1 billion investment over 5 years to create a national school food program. This program will increase access to school meals, as I said, for an additional 400,000 school children a year and help more Canadian children get a better start each day. It will ensure that they can focus on learning, not being hungry, and it will take some of the pressure off family budgets, helping make life more affordable. Mr. Speaker, we're also helping deliver relief at the grocery checkout counter in 3 ways. This includes, first, amending the Competition Act, something that our government has done in 3 rounds of changes. I've been a part of that process and seen lots of collaboration with parties opposite, and it's great to see us strengthening competition, which ultimately will lower and stabilize prices. We've also secured commitments from Canada's 5 largest grocery chains to help stabilize those prices. That was months ago. Members mocked that initiative, but it certainly had some impact. The third is a grocery task force to supervise the big grocers' work and investigate unacceptable grocery sector practices such as, for example, shrinkflation. These are all great examples, Mr. Speaker, of government working for Canadians. Since 2015, we've enhanced the Canada Workers' Benefit, we've increased old age security, the Guaranteed Income Supplement, we've implemented a new Canada Disability Benefit, and many more to come. We're strengthening the social safety net in Canada to ensure all families are taken care of.
For Stormont, Dundas, South Glengarry.
The member and I have had an exchange before about the Liberals' promise and promise and promise of a national school food program. That member and I are both from the class of 2019. For years and years and years, they've been standing up and promising help. How many children have been fed after 9 years of this Prime Minister? Not 9 days, not 9 months, but 9 years. 0 children have been fed through their national school food program. The only people getting fed are a growing bureaucracy here in Ottawa, not helping families. We talk about the carbon tax, and they say, oh, it's not punitive, it's not a big deal at all, because there's so much more money going back to Canadians than before. So many families are getting more money in these rebates than they're paying in the carbon tax. If that were the case, why is food bank use in this country up 79% in the last 5 years or so? Why are there now 2 million visits to a food bank per month in this country? Why is there 1 million more people going this year? If things are so great, why are their numbers so bad?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Well, Mr. Speaker, thank you to the member opposite. So obviously, feeding children in schools through a national school food program that exists, an investment of which is $1 billion over 5 years in this year's budget, is obviously going to roll out in the coming years and months. So obviously it hasn't fed children in the past because it wasn't in existence in the past. School food programs exist all across the country, but they've needed an injection of additional funds. We've heard their cries for more funding to help feed more children, and that's exactly what we're doing. We've put it in this year's budget. The member opposite doesn't seem to want to support that. They're voting against a budget which helps feed 400,000 more kids. I can't understand it. It's so ironic and hypocritical of them to stand here and say that Canadians are not doing well and standing in food bank lineups. Yes, we empathize with that. That's why we're trying to feed children in this country.